You can't really appreciate, the world that we live in unless you experience as much of it as you can. There's all these beliefs and ideas that you may or may not ever experience, but unless you study abroad, you'll never know.
I am so blessed that I was able to be a part of this. If I didn't choose A-State, then I would have never gotten to go on this opportunity. You only see this type of stuff one time in your life, and this trip was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
The relationship that we formed together, nothing will beat that, because the trip itself, yes, we'll always have those memories, but we're not gonna remember every single detail, but the bond will always be there.
Actually being there and seeing these people made it so much more real, what we learned about. And it being, a more recent part of history and one we don't really get to talk about and learn about in school, it was that much more impactful, especially in Berlin.
To go there right after learning it and realizing that it was less than 3 decades ago when the wall fell, and we're talking about 40s and 50s Cold War history, and we're in the city where it symbolically began and ended. You can still see the very stark divide that used to be there between East and West, even in architecture that still remains.
Every place we went to had its own different type of beauty. The Schönbrunn Palace was my favorite by far. Just all of the detail and the luxurious rooms, I felt like I was royalty. Walking outside and seeing all of the gardens, just how much work and effort they put into making that look absolutely perfect. It blows your mind.
In Prague, there was a John Lennon wall, and I don't think it was originally on the tour itinerary, was it?
Because it was a surprise.
The tour guides just brought us over, and we saw all the spray painted artworks and lyrics on this wall. They brought out these spray paint cans for us to sign or do whatever we wanted to on the wall, and we were really shocked because we've seen all these really beautiful and historical buildings, and the fact that we get to mark on them and leave our own mark on the city was pretty surreal.
Our tour guide from Krakow, as we were walking up the hill going to the castle, she was describing, here's this wall that was built 600 years ago. This part of the castle's foundation is 800 years old. And we walk past another building and someone asks, what's the brick building over there? She says, oh, that's not an important one. That's pretty new. Probably 18th century. Any of our buildings, let alone our country, can't even match some of the structures they have over there.
I think my favorite thing was when we were in Krakow, I got to kind of go explore the city because they had the craft fair and they had all the street food. And so we spent the afternoon walking around the streets, looking at all the crafts, eating street food, just kind of wandering and being around the people. And it was just such a beautiful and lovely experience.
Getting to travel is fun and all. I like to travel, but if I hadn't had friends with me, I don't think it would have been as fun. Y'all being there made it a lot more fun. It made it things that I'm going to be able to remember more than just oh yeah, I got to go to Europe. It's not I got to go to Europe, it's I got to go visit these historic cities with some of my best friends.
I got to experience the history and grow as a person with my best friends.
It was definitely one of the best things I've ever done in my life. To kind of get out into the world, to see what else is out there, because, only living in the United States my entire life, only living in Arkansas my entire life, you don't really understand the context of the rest of the world. You understand what is relevant to you, but you don't understand what it means to be a global citizen until you're out in the world and you actually see what it's like for other people in other countries and other cultures.
In the class, we could talk about it all we wanted to, but until you actually go over there and see it for yourself, it's black and white. There's no comparison.
I learned so much that I can carry with me for the rest of my life. Like, there's never gonna be, even if I go back to the same places and do the same exact things, it won't be the same experience. I'll still learn completely different things from the experience.
You know, this trip was the summer before my senior year. I was lucky enough to have this opportunity, but time really flew by, you know? And so the timing was great for me, but I'd missed opportunities in the past, and now that I've been on this trip, I now realize how valuable the past trips would have been.
And now that we can look back, it's like, this was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life.
Hello, Mom. I'm Famous.